As the South Korean ambassador to the UN, Seo Moon-ju is a highly respected diplomat internationally. Her husband Jang Jo-ik is a member of parliament and plans to run for president. To support his political career, Seo Moon-ju resigned and returned to Korea. As a token of gratitude, Jang Jo-ik gifted her a precious cross-shaped necklace. This morning, Jang Jo-ik accompanied his wife to attend church mass. Outside the church, a large crowd of protesters gathered, opposing Jang Jo-ik's policy of peaceful reunification with North Korea, which they believe would undermine South Korea's foundation. Seo Moon-ju walked calmly into the church with her husband. A man was filming from above, secretly focusing his camera on her. Seo Moon-ju turned as if sensing his presence. As the mass began under the priest's guidance, a man in military uniform suddenly stepped forward and drew his gun, shooting Jang Jo-ik. At the sound of gunfire, Seo Moon-ju rushed from her seat, shielding her husband with her own body. Just in time, the filming man rushed down and unexpectedly subdued the attacker with a gunshot. However, the attacker had prepared and swallowed poison to commit suicide. Jang Jo-ik was taken to the hospital, but succumbed to excessive blood loss. Seo Moon-ju was devastated, as she deeply loved her husband and never imagined this outcome. Jang Jo-ik's death not only intensified party turmoil, but also plunged his widow into family disputes. The Jang family owns South Korea's largest shipping and logistics company. Years ago, the grandmother had transferred all family assets to Jang Jo-ik, her eldest grandson. Now childless, Seo Moon-ju, as the widow, is legally entitled to inherit all her husband's property. The grandmother and mother-in-law resent the family business being taken over by an outsider. A lawyer then read Jang Jo-ik's will regarding his property distribution. According to the will, Jang Jo-ik left tens of billions of won in cash and real estate entirely to his wife. The mother-in-law demanded an explanation, while the grandmother openly humiliated the widow, claiming the daughter-in-law, with no family background, had never been worthy of the family. As a woman who had traveled the world, Seo Moon-ju was no pushover. She glared directly at her grandmother and mother-in-law, declaring that though not born into wealth, she was a daughter raised with love by her mother, who taught her never to be ashamed of her origins. Unrelenting, the older women sued to seize the inheritance. Beyond them, Seo Moon-ju's brother-in-law, Jang Jo-ik's younger brother, harbored his own ambitions. As a prosecutor, he intended to take up his brother's mantle and run for president, privately urging Seo Moon-ju to donate the inheritance to his campaign. She refused, daring him and the elders to challenge her. The investigation into Jang Jo-ik's assassination revealed that the shooter, Sergeant Kim, belonged to the Special Warfare Command. His home contained numerous photos and documents related to Jang Jo-ik, suggesting he was an extremist opposed to reunification. The man who subdued the killer, nicknamed Baek San-ho, was of unknown nationality and vanished after the incident. That night, Baek San-ho received a call. A client requested his protection of Seo Moon-ju, who was reportedly in grave danger. From then on, he secretly observed her, noting that despite her grief, she masked her emotions, remaining absorbed in work as if adversity had never touched her. During his time as a mercenary in the Middle East, Baek San-ho had already taken notice of Seo Moon-ju, the outstanding UN ambassador. Unlike other diplomats, her passionate and heartfelt speeches about the Korean peninsula deeply moved him. Through the church priest, Baek San-ho returned the necklace Seo Moon-ju had dropped in the church that day. He had carefully repaired it in the church the night before. During their conversation, Baek San-ho noticed that Seo Moon-ju was being followed. He swiftly eliminated the tracker and took her to a secluded mountain under the cover of night. In the forest, Seo Moon-ju directly questioned whether Baek San-ho had heard Sergeant Kim's final words before his suicide. Baek San-ho had heard clearly. Kim said, "I killed the spy." This left Seo Moon-ju perplexed. If Kim wasn't insane, it meant her husband might have been a spy. Baek San-ho showed her the video he had taken that day. In it, before the assassination, Kim had placed something inside the church, a Bible with a blank business card bearing a phone number inside. Baek San-ho had tried calling the number, but it was disconnected. Shortly after, a group of men searched a public phone booth, trying to track down the caller. From this, Baek San-ho and Seo Moon-ju concluded that the number's owner must be a high-ranking official. Baek San-ho also shared security footage from outside the church. It showed that before the assassination, Kim had met a mysterious figure in a car none other than Seo Moon-ju's brother-in-law. Armed with these clues, Seo Moon-ju met with her husband's aides. Recently, she noticed that their numbers had grown significantly, as if something had made her husband uneasy. The head aide revealed, a month prior, Jang Jo-ik had received mysterious private calls. The day before his wife's return, he appeared unusually agitated, demanding additional security personnel. He claimed a squirrel was following him. Seo Moon-ju recalled that her husband once drew a picture of a squirrel, explaining that his younger brother had been bitten by one as a child, hence the nickname Squirrel. Now it became clear that the one tracking Jang Joon-ik was indeed his younger brother. So Moon-ju's assistant called, informing her that Sergeant Kim's family was hastily relocating, apparently with outside help. This only reinforced Seo Moon-ju's conviction that there was a mastermind behind her husband's assassination. The assistant trailed Kim's family to the airport, suspecting they were fleeing the country. However, while focusing on observation, the assistant was inadvertently spotted. Soon after, the brother-in-law called, revealing that the assistant was in his custody and using this as leverage to demand a meeting with Seo Moon-ju. During the meeting, Seo Moon-ju directly confronted her brother-in-law about why he had been tracking Jang Joon-ik. Unapologetic, he declared that Jang Joon-ik was a spy and that his surveillance was merely an attempt to shield his brother from exposure. If the public and international community discovered that a presidential candidate was a spy, it would trigger massive instability. He also mentioned Baek San-ho, revealing that he was America's top mercenary employed by a U.S. military contractor. He insinuated that Baek San-ho's presence in the church was part of an American mission to monitor Jang Joon-ik, a threat to U.S.-South Korea relations in their eyes. Seo Moon-ju dismissed these claims. She knew her husband's kindness and her brother-in-law's ambition to usurp his position. She suspected the spy allegation was fabricated. Unwilling to argue further, the brother-in-law, using the assistant as leverage, demanded that Seo Moon-ju leave South Korea within 24 hours. To him, his politically astute sister-in-law was an obstacle to his presidential aspirations. After ensuring the assistant's safety, Seo Moon-ju played for time, temporarily agreeing to his demand. But in private, Seo Moon-ju went to the church to meet the priest celebrating Mass, only to find him dead. Inside the priest's room, she encountered Baek San-ho again. He shielded Seo Moon-ju as the assassin was still present. A life-and-death struggle ensued between Baek San-ho and the killer. When questioned, the assassin merely said, "The whale in the deep sea before escaping in the chaos." Baek San-ho opened a hidden compartment in the room and led Seo Moon-ju into the church's secret underground tunnel. There, she directly questioned his identity. He simply stated that his contract with the U.S. military contractor had ended. Additionally, he handed her the Bible the priest had given her, inside which was another blank business card with only a phone number. It seemed the priest might have been connected to the mastermind behind the assassination. Baek San-ho had already deduced that the priest had been poisoned. In the tunnel, Baek San-ho retrieved a secret letter and a satellite image from the wine the priest had left him. The letter was addressed to Jang Joon-ik and sent by U.S. Assistant Secretary of State Anderson. After reading it, Baek San-ho and Seo Moon-ju finally understood the truth. The satellite image captured a North Korean nuclear submarine. Faced with this blatant nuclear threat, the U.S. immediately deployed a strategy, planning to launch a proportional precision strike to destroy all of North Korea's nuclear weapons. Anderson was alarmed by this plan. If tensions escalated, the entire Korean peninsula and East Asia would be dragged into endless war. As a Korean American, Anderson was determined to prevent the looming crisis. He wrote to his former classmate, Jang Joon-ik, for help. Seo Moon-ju and Baek San-ho were certain that Jang Joon-ik and the priest had planned to announce during Mass that the Korean peninsula was on the brink of war. Before parting ways the next day, Baek San-ho gave Seo Moon-ju the saint medallion the priest had gifted him, hoping it would protect her. To fulfill her husband's wishes, Seo Moon-ju resolved to seek help from the president. However, after reading Anderson's letter to Jang Joon-ik, the president immediately destroyed it. In truth, after Jang Joon-ik's assassination, the president had already discovered the North Korean nuclear threat. To prevent the impending war, he planned to use political maneuvering to cover up the truth of Jang Joon-ik's murder and strengthen the U.S.-South Korea alliance. The president warned Seo Moon-ju that what was coming was war, not diplomacy, and urged her to stay out of it. Seo Moon-ju could not accept the president's deceptive decision to hide the truth. At that moment, a different choice began to take root in her heart. That same day, she asked her mother-in-law why she had agreed to her marriage to Jang Joon-ik if she disapproved of her background. The mother-in-law admitted it was because Seo Moon-ju possessed a rare quality, the ability to make people trust her unconditionally. Understanding her mother-in-law's perspective, Seo Moon-ju made a bold and unusual proposal. She would continue her husband's unfinished path and run for president. If her mother-in-law fully supported her, she would transfer all of her husband's inheritance to her upon becoming a candidate. The mother-in-law agreed without hesitation. In her eyes, her younger son, the prosecutor, was unreliable, and someone had to carry on her eldest son's legacy. After reaching an agreement, Seo Moon-ju asked her mother-in-law to contact her younger son-in-law. She demanded that the younger brother return her assistant unharmed and that he withdraw from the election and leave the country within 24 hours. To prevent the war, Seo Moon-ju was willing to risk everything. Meanwhile, at the Yalu River, Baek Sun-ho, who had originally planned to go to North Korea, could not let go of his concern for Seo Moon-ju. He decided to stand by her side and face this crisis head-on. To secure her position as a presidential candidate, Seo Moon-ju began meticulous preparations. She first visited a historian and her late husband's mentor, hoping to gain his support in analyzing North Korea's strategic decisions. The professor warned Seo Moon-ju that war on the peninsula was inevitable, and that if she pursued the presidency, she would be swept away by the tides of history. Undeterred, Seo Moon-ju remained resolute. She vowed to change the course of history if the professor would assist her. Seo Moon-ju recognized the power of media in shaping public opinion. A photo taken by an American news agency shielding her husband during the assassination became a powerful symbol of her strength, boosting her campaign. Next, she confronted her brother-in-law with video evidence of his infidelity and mistreatment of his wife. With no other options, he reluctantly agreed to leave South Korea. The mother-in-law also played a crucial role. She met with the chairman of Seo Moon-ju's political party, threatening to expose his illegitimate daughter unless he endorsed Seo Moon-ju as their candidate. The chairman had no choice but to comply and publicly supported her campaign. Through their combined efforts, Seo Moon-ju's popularity soared, and she became the leading candidate within her party. On Sunday, Seo Moon-ju would officially announce her candidacy at Gwanghwamun Square. Her mother-in-law, deeply understanding public sentiment, knew that in the eyes of the people, Seo Moon-ju, who had shielded her husband from gunfire, would be seen as Joan of Arc. To help her daughter-in-law maintain this image, she had hired experts to prepare Seo Moon-ju's speech for the occasion. Meanwhile, Baek Sun-ho renewed his contract with the U.S. military contractor and obtained weapons. However, while assembling them, he found himself watching a video of Seo Moon-ju's speech as South Korea's ambassador to the UN. To him, she shone too brightly in that footage. When the president learned of Seo Moon-ju's decision to run, he called her, his tone laced with disapproval. He saw her move as a direct challenge, but Seo Moon-ju refused to back down. She believed the president's plan to appease the U.S. and resolve the crisis through political maneuvering would fail. She intended to expose the truth, convinced that diplomacy without truth was doomed to collapse. On the day of her campaign announcement, Seo Moon-ju stood poised and confident. With her team, she traveled from Gwangju's Memorial Park to Daejeon's National Cemetery, launching a grand publicity campaign broadcast live across all media. The final stop was Seoul's Gwanghwamun. But as this unfolded, Baek Sun-ho received word that a bomb expert had arrived in South Korea. Confirming the report, he urgently met with Seo Moon-ju's aides, warning that she must not board the train to Seoul. Unfortunately, it was too late. She had already boarded. Over the phone, Baek Sun-ho's voice grew grave. "Do not stand up. There's a bomb under your seat." In the face of this danger, Seo Moon-ju had no choice but to halt the live broadcast. Desperate to save her, Baek Sun-ho sped toward the train, finally reuniting with her at the next station. Inside the train carriage, Baek Sun-ho punctured Seo Moon-ju's seat. True enough, a timed bomb was hidden beneath it. The bomb squad had yet to arrive, and only 6 minutes remained before detonation. While instructing Seo Moon-ju to regulate her breathing, Baek Sun-ho frantically dismantled the device. After cutting one of the bomb's wires, he gently clasped Seo Moon-ju's hand, pressed close to her body, and swapped seats with her, placing himself directly above the bomb to ensure her safety. As Seo Moon-ju exited unharmed, Baek Sun-ho held his breath and leapt from his seat just as the explosion occurred. The seat was nearly obliterated. Seo Moon-ju's anxiety surged until she confirmed Baek Sun-ho was injured but alive, and only then did her tension ease. After the explosion, her aides urged her to postpone her schedule, but Seo Moon-ju refused to rest and insisted on proceeding to Seoul as planned to announce her candidacy. Upon arrival, she ascended the political stage amid public applause. To her mother-in-law's surprise, she abandoned the pre-written speech and instead spoke from the heart, sharing her genuine experiences and convictions with the crowd. She vowed to lead the people beyond division toward unity and hope. Her impassioned address triggered prolonged applause. Even the previously hesitant party chairman rose to applaud. From afar, Baek Sun-ho watched Seo Moon-ju, his eyes brimming with concealed affection. Later, at the police station to assist with the bombing investigation, Seo Moon Ju's gaze lingered on Baek San-ho. As their eyes met, she unconsciously tightened the necklace gifted by her late husband. That night, Seo Moon-ju lay awake and visited the church, wearing not only her husband's cross but also Baek San-ho's saint medallion. He followed her there. When she questioned why he kept appearing whenever she was in danger, Baek San-ho revealed that since her husband's assassination, he had known Seo Moon-ju would be next. The bomb was a message from the perpetrators. Anyone trying to prevent the Korean Peninsula's war would not survive. To better protect her, Baek San-ho offered himself as her aide, sharing her determination to avert the impending catastrophe. He firmly believed she could succeed. Faced with his directness and fervor, Seo Moon-ju cast aside her final hesitation and shook his hand, agreeing to hire him. Meanwhile, at sea, swirling eddies and approaching storms mirrored the looming nuclear threat from North Korea. A war of destruction seemed inevitable.